Very good. Thank you. We will start our meeting at 1:32 today. We do have a quorum, and let's go around and do introductions. Victoria Chavez, El Paso County, to my right. You have to remember to turn your mic on or it doesn't come up with the recording.
Scott Barnhart, El Paso County.
Thank you.
Jeff Guthrie, CDOT Region 2 Planning Supervisor.
George Gromke, CDOT Division of Transit and Rail.
Allison Burns, Mountain Metro Transit.
Hal Archer, Air Force Academy Community Planner.
Darren Horsemeyer, Community Planner at Schriever Space Force Base.
Lisa Gagnon, Transit Planner, PPACG.
Danelle Miller, PPACG.
John Lusatos, Darth Vader Voice Actor.
Josh Squires, PPACG.
John, do you want to introduce the rest since you're on mic? Audience?
I think I know some folks. Will Mast, PPACG. Jason O'Brien, PPACG. Aaron Semeniego. I was not even close. Seminero, for those of online, with Invita. Silver Key, so close. A gentleman in a red lanyard that I don't know, and Ted Richard with Olson Engineering. So, I'm sorry, who are you? Matthew Helfant with Mountain Metro Transit. Why didn't you introduce him?
So I can't quite see all of the participants. So if you could help me go through that, I'd appreciate it.
I can help with that because I know that he might be promoting people to speaking roles. We have Dan from Monument.
Hi, this is Dan from Monument.
I was going to say, just go ahead and be quick and introduce everybody for us.
John Hall, CDOT Region 2. Karen Rowe, our PPACG Regional Grant Navigator. Kathleen Collins from CDOT Headquarters. Lachelle Davis, CDOT Region 2 Local Agency. Lindsay Jaquez from CDOT Region 2. Jacob Madsen from MMT. Scott Skinner, CDOT Region 2. And Gail Sturdivant from the City of Colorado Springs.
Very good. Thank you, Janelle. Do we have any changes to the, I'm sorry, online?
I missed some folks.
City of Fountain.
Thank you, Abba. I missed Abba, Ben Schmidt from Manitou Springs, and Beth Dukes from Peterson Space Force Space.
Did we get everybody online now? Sounds like we did. Terrific. Okay. Do we have any changes to the agenda? With that, I will take a motion. As I stare at you.
This is Allison. I would like to motion that.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
This is Scott. I second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Do we have any public comments or presentations today?
We did not have any emails or phone calls or any advance notice of any public comments. I don't see anybody rushing the podium, so I believe we do not have any public comments today.
Very good. Thank you, Danelle. So everybody should have been able to review the meeting minutes. Are there any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, I will take a motion.
This is Allison. I would like to motion that we accept the minutes as is.
Thank you, Allison. Do I have a second?
This is Scott. I second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And any opposed? Passes unanimously. Board of Directors report. Who's going to do that?
I will take that. Thank you. The board earlier this month approved the transition of the Mobility Coordinating Committee into a work group. Basically, what that means is that it'll function as an operation-focused group for organizations and agencies that provide human services transportation. It will meet to discuss the development of the mobility guide, opportunities for training, addressing resource shortages, those kinds of things, new rules or legislation, maintenance issues, grant opportunities, opportunities for collaboration, items that may be relevant to the specialized transportation plan, and other kinds of operational focused issues. So it is not considered a policy committee or a committee of origin. Any items that might be discussed at that mobility coordinating working group that warrant further discussion or warrant potential action would actually come to this committee, to the Transportation Advisory Committee for that kind of policy discussion or action. Other than that, there wasn't much transportation related at the board this month. I will mention that there was a presentation and some discussion regarding land use surrounding our military installations, specifically Schriever. And I think that's everything that's might be relevant to the TAC, but happy to take questions.
Could you summarize sort of the conversation about development around?
I can. Do you want to take that, John, or do you want me to take a stab at it?
I'll start, but then you jump in. I think the main concern expressed by the speaker was that, again, when we did the J-Luce back in 2012 and then repeated it in 2015, that there were provisions for buffers and other things around our military installations to stave off encroachment, so that way the mission of those facilities can remain intact. And so the speaker was very passionate about making sure that as rezonings and other things come through the process, regardless of jurisdiction, that they are looked at with the eye of some of these bases are way out in the middle of nowhere, and and for a reason, and they need to stay sort of out in the middle of nowhere for a reason, given some of their missions. I think that's it, as most reader digesty as I can make it. Is that?
Awesome. Thank you. That was helpful. All right, moving on to action items. TIP amendment number 6, Josh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So CDOT's Division of Transit and Rail is requesting an amendment to the fiscal year 25 through 29 TIP to add a new project, the Monument Mobility Hub, funded through Senate Bill 267 in fiscal years 26 and 27. At this point, I'll turn it over to CDOT to provide additional details and answer any questions you guys might have on the project. Thank you.
That's me. Let me adjust my reading glasses here. Just so the group knows, we're requesting to add a total of $500,000 to the PPACG TIP. Excuse me, sorry about that. Foremost is to make the lot there at Monument there. Sorry, I'm trying to read these notes. Start over, Jeff. Foremost is to make the parking lot ADA compliant, and that means resolving the tripping hazards at the storm drains, among other things. Our capital projects manager up at our headquarters does not think a public information display is necessary for this particular stop. We thought that restriping the lot also would be a good use of any remaining funds, along with perhaps some new signage or wayfinding around the lot. And so we are trying to get the design part of the project into the TIP initially, and then move forward once that's done, obviously, into construction. And if there are any questions, I would love to entertain them.
Do we have any questions for Jeff? Scott?
I'm involved in a county project that's looking to reconfigure the north-south road it's off of Lake Woodmore. So I guess we just want to make sure as that design goes forward that we're coordinating with each other.
Yeah, this is Scott with CDOT here, and I'm more than happy to take that forward. But yeah, we're going to be working with you guys in that Woodmore roundabout there, and we'll be able to help out with that, and we're going to follow your guys' lead, because I know some of the aspects of that project will overlap with ours, And so we're going to let you guys do all your work and then follow up with our design and our construction there. So that is really the plan for how we're going to approach that, and looking forward to working with you and your team there at El Paso County in delivering that.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any concerns or questions from Mountain Metro?
No, not that I know of at this time.
Lovely, thank you. With that, no more questions? I will take a motion to approve that TIP amendment.
This is Scott. I move to approve the TIP amendment.
And a second. I'm going to start calling on people online.
This is Allison. I would love to second.
Thank you. So we have a motion
Victoria,
and a second.
can you hear me at all?
I can now.
Okay, so I've been trying to give you motions. I'm sorry. I
That's
think
right.
I
I
had to
just
change
give-
microphones.
Okay. I just give Allison the evil eye and she usually helps
Oh,
me
she
out.
knows.
So. Okay, with that, all in favor say aye. Aye. And
Aye.
any opposed?
Aye.
I'm taking that as an aye and not an opposed with a nay. So that it passes unanimously. Thank you. Josh, you are up again for the TIP Improvement Program update.
Awesome, thank you. So per federal regulations, a public involvement plan is required as part of the new Transportation Improvement Program process. PPACG has developed this plan to document the procedures staff will follow to engage the public and ensure meaningful participation in the regional planning efforts here for the fiscal year 27 through 31 TIP. The public involvement plan will be reviewed annually and updated as needed to remain current and effective. PPACG staff requests that the TAC reviews the public involvement plan and provides a recommendation as appropriate.
So has this plan gone out for public comment?
So this plan is specific to the TIP. When we do our larger overarching public participation plan, then yes, we'll take it out to the public. But this, so for our individual large planning efforts like the long range transportation plan and the transportation improvement plan, we do an individual public involvement plan for those specific documents. So in this case, we generally just bring it to the TAC. As long as you all are okay with it, we include it in the full TIP document. And it just kind of guides how we're going to proceed with public involvement for the TIP.
Okay, have there been any major changes since the last year?
No.
No, there is not.
I did see that you put it in ADA compliant format, so thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the plan? Hearing none, I will take a motion.
Victoria, this is Gail. I recommend, hold on, I had the recommendation up there. I recommend we move this forward for review and approval of the public involvement plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Ben Schmidt, Manatee Springs, a second.
Thank you, my online people. That's wonderful. So does it, with that, anyone wants to approve this, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed, say nay. Hearing none, passes unanimously. Good job, Josh. Mr. Mast, you are up with our regional traffic data service item.
Yes, hello, this is William Mast with PPACG, the GIS and modeling manager. Following up last month's information item that was brought before TAC, we are discussing the regional data service license that we've had for about 4 or 5 years. We have this license with a company called Streetlight that provides traffic count estimates, origin destination information, vehicle trip data, turning movements, and things like that. And it has been extended for the last couple of years using SDBG funds with the local match provided by El Paso County and Colorado Springs. Going forward, if we were to renew this for 2026, the local match has been offered to be paid entirely by the city of Colorado Springs. And we are now bringing it before TAC as an action item if we want to go ahead and still dedicate SDBG funds to pay for the remainder of that contract balance.
Does anybody have questions for Will? Okay, you get questions from me then.
Okay.
Is this something we have to act on today? Because I'm a little concerned about what our STP numbers are going to look at for our call for projects. And if there's a possibility of tabling this for 1 month until we have some better numbers, I would feel more comfortable at this moment.
Yes, we could. Sorry, I'm thinking about the contract and I want to make sure that I've got this correct, but we would have time in our contract with Streetlight to declare our renewal. We should be fine waiting until TAC. Yeah, October's TAC should be okay. That'll be fine.
Okay. Does anybody have concerns with tabling this until October? And hearing nothing from Gail, that's great.
Yeah, no, that was a
so-
no. I shook my head no, but I will tell you, should the SCB Metro monies be available to help support this purchase, as was written in the memo, we are committed to providing the local match.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gail. With that, I would need a motion to table this to the next meeting.
This is Scott
Victoria's-
with El Paso County. I move that we table this till next meeting.
Victoria, this is Gail Sturdivant. I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And any opposed, say nay. That passes to table till next month. So you have a break, Will.
I will see you all again next month.
Yes, you will.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you for that flexibility. We appreciate it. Derived Smart Representation, who is taking that item?
I will start this item and then John will rescue me as needed. So we, in previous months at the TAC, have discussed members of the Transportation Advisory Committee attending the Drive Smart Traffic Safety Coalition meetings, which happen monthly here at PPACG in this building. Because if we have 3 or more members of the TAC present at that meeting, we have to go through additional steps of public notice for those meetings, which opened us up to having a Zoom bomb moment at a previous coalition meeting. We had discussed potentially, rather than opening it to the entire TAC, if it would be more appropriate to have the TAC decide on some representatives to attend those meetings and then perhaps even report back to this committee as that's appropriate. So today we're just kind of looking for guidance from the TAC. Is that something you would like to do? And if so, are you ready to nominate folks for that at this time?
Let me start with any questions on this for Danelle. All right, so I'm betting there are people who are not on the call today. So I think maybe the appropriate thing to do is let's ask for some volunteers and then send out a follow-up email in case anybody missing the meeting still has that opportunity. With that, is there anyone that's at the meeting today that would like to volunteer for this? I am suggesting we have 2 designated members and 2 alternates for when the 2 primary members couldn't attend the meeting.
And Victoria, do they have to be a member of the TAC?
It's a good question. I don't think they do. What do you think, John?
Again, this is something you guys wanted to do as a reporting schedule. So no, they don't have to be members of TAC, but as a practical purpose, if they're not members of the TAC, they don't count towards quorum and they can show up anytime they want to the meeting. The only thing we have to be be cognizant of is that we don't hit 3, I think.
Yes, if
Um,
3, it
on,
counts as.
on the invite list of TAC members. So, but yes, we could definitely have TAC folks join. And in fact, we can add them to show up anytime they want, and there's no restriction on that.
Okay, Gail, does that change your thought on this at all?
No, I think and I know Todd Frisbee wasn't able to join us today. I don't know that it would be him or him and somebody on his staff that I could volunteer them that they could do it. But
Okay, and
at least like for them to be involved in the discussion, but I think that would make sense from a city standpoint, to have somebody representing if others could step up and provide the second spot. So I could provide a primary and an alternate.
okay, and if you're either primary or alternate are not a voting member of the stack, we wouldn't even have to include them. We could still have 4 and they could be, your representative anyway.
Yep, and if they're not on the TAC, that's fine, but just give us their contact information and we'll add them to the mailing list.
Does that sound good, Gail?
Yep.
Okay. That said, is there anybody, please question Hal?
I think what you just said was that non-voting members, there is no maximum, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just clarifying.
So with that, is there any voting members of the TAC who would like to be a primary member of the Drive Smart Coalition? Lots of conversation. Okay, I would like to be one of those members. But having a secondary one would be good. So maybe we'll figure out who that might be on that email.
Yeah, Todd is an alternate voting member. So if for some reason it's something that requires a vote, I could defer to him in those areas. If that's helpful to you, Victoria. I just feel like at least from the city's representation, he would be best suited, or somebody on his team would be best suited to serve in that role.
Okay, great. I still would like to have 2 more people from the TAC. So I will encourage TAC members to please consider this. It's not a big term commitment. You can certainly do it virtually. You do not have to drive in here. So it's once a month, and it's what, about an hour and a half?
It is, and it's on Tuesday morning, 9:30.
Okay. Well, we'll send an email out and hope that we get some more people.
Yes, I will follow up on that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right, on to information items. Jason, you are up with Complete Streets Toolkit. Why does this fly right here?
Good afternoon. Thank you. I'm just going to make a few brief remarks before I turn it over to the experts. I just want to put the project in context first, because we haven't talked about it with this group before. So the Complete Streets Toolbox is being developed for a couple reasons. First, it's to comply with some of the funding requirements for the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. Second, to be a resource for all our member governments. Be a resource for all of our member governments, and that includes rural, prairie, and mountain towns. I know we don't normally think of them in a complete streets context, but it's all about being context appropriate. This is a completely voluntary resource and guidance document for communities to use at their discretion. It's not a plan and doesn't have a project list or a budget or anything like that. Just a resource. The project began early this year, and we're hoping to have it wrapped up within the calendar year. It's not a large budget project, but I think it's been thoughtfully executed so far by our Olson consultants. I know a lot of work has been done meeting with all of our member jurisdictions to discuss what complete streets might mean in their local context and how this product can be helpful for them. And thanks to everyone on this meeting who met with us on that. It's a very draft document at this point. There'll be a lot of small refinements going forward, but the basic content, the organization and structure are ready for review. So we'd love to get any comments you may have at this point. So following this and incorporating any comments that we get, the next step will be to come back and get your recommendation of the final draft next month before asking the board for final approval in November. We will not be asking the board to adopt this as a regional policy. We'll just be asking for their approval, basically a statement that it's acceptable as a regional resource. And with that, I'll turn it over to our lead consultant, Ted Richard, who has just a few slides and some remarks.
Thank you, Jason. Welcome, Ted.
Thank you. Thank you, committee members, for having me back here again. So Jason really covered a lot of the details. I'll just give you a little background on the project, what we've been working on. Yes, it was a small budget. We still managed to divide it into 3 phases. We spent a lot of time reviewing current practices and policies from around the MPO and actually the entire Council of Governments member agencies. We interviewed or had conversations with all of those stakeholders. And then we also conducted a best practices review from sources nationwide. From that, we went into a more detailed evaluation of what's most applicable here in the Pikes Peak area and developed a preliminary tool set. And then through a workshop with our PPACG staff partners, we kind of tailored that to what would be the most functional toolbox for this particular use. As Jason said, this is a reference document. It is not a policy document. And so that's the way the plan is constructed. Hey, all right. So again, this process or developing this document was driven by an inclusive stakeholder process. We met with all the MPO member agencies. We also extended that because it does have potential use for across the region. We also went ahead and met with other members of the Council of Governments. You can see the summaries of all those interviews and conversations towards the back of the document. And we really tried to carry through those things that they mentioned were relevant for them into the construction of the document. So just some major elements that are included in this toolbox. We tried to address the why. Why would you even consider complete streets? As Jason mentioned, it's certainly talked about in urban environments, but there are other applications and other considerations why you might consider complete streets. For example, if you were trying to, or if you were looking at economic development opportunities and how do you make your main street better, some complete streets elements may be beneficial to that. We also tried to talk about the what, because there's a lot of misperceptions about what complete streets really means. So we looked at what are the elements, what are all the elements, whether they be pedestrian related, bicycle related, access to transit, as well as those people like me that still drive cars every day. We also tried to talk about the how and provide roadmaps for policy development, funding strategies, and low cost, no cost implementation strategies. And then, as I mentioned, we also provided multiple examples of the where. Complete streets implementation does not always need to be citywide, townwide, countywide. Again, sometimes it can be beneficial in certain locations. So that's kind of the structure of the document. Some other elements that are in there, a lot of different case studies drawing from some of that national best practices, as well as local examples, a ton of links to different resources that people can access. I mentioned those stakeholder interview summaries and key themes that we heard. We also went to great lengths to try and explore this from a variety of different contexts. As diverse as the Pikes Peak region is, we tried to be relevant in as many cases as possible, including not only the context, but the scale of application. So, as Jason said, this is a draft document. We are looking for comment so that we can make this thing better, and look forward to hearing more from you. Any other questions?
Thank you. Does anybody have questions on this draft document? Very talkative group today. I do have one question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you give us a deadline for final comments so that if people have not had the opportunity, And we want to give you enough time to incorporate those before the next tech. So if you could give us a deadline date, I think that helps all of us.
2 weeks.
Okay,
Is
give me a
that
date.
doable? We hadn't got that far.
Is that like October 3rd-ish?
Two weeks from today would be the 2nd.
The 2nd.
October 2nd. Okay, so close of business, October 2nd. Any comments, please send them to Jason and Jason will get them to the right place. Thank you very much for your time and presentation. All righty, transit connection study update, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Lisa Gagnon, PPACG. The Transit Connection Study was a study done by CDOT to identify the gaps in transit systems across the whole state of Colorado and to increase transit accessibility and mode choice. And I won't speak too much more because George Gromke from the Division of Transit and Rail is here to talk about it more and then identify the parts that are related to the Pikes Peak area. Thank you. Go ahead.
Very good. Thank you. George, welcome.
Hi there. Thank you for having me today, commissioners, and special thanks to Lisa for re-uploading the right PowerPoint after I sent over the wrong one. So much appreciated there. All right, so as Lisa said, I'm George Gromke. I'm with CDOT's Division of Transit and Rail. I'm here to present today on an update for the Transit Connection Study. So I'll cover an overview of what the study is, some background as well as the methodology, and then wrap it up with some next steps. So really, the TCS was envisioned, providing some background. We're at a time now where we're in the process of, looking towards the future of Mustang, have, through the years, a number of input on different vision projects and potential opportunities about ways to optimize service and expand the state with the upcoming Front Range Passenger Rail projects, as well as the Mountain Rail project, and a lot of good work happening at regional and local levels around the state. We were tasked with, by TC and by our leadership with conducting a study to look at opportunities available to better connect the state. And to better integrate Colorado's statewide transit network. So the TCS was what came out of this and really envisioned as an opportunity to look towards integrating the statewide transit network, improve mobility and connectivity across Colorado by examining stop stations, regional, interregional service gaps, and opportunities to better connect the state. And really the output is transit project types. So looking at gaps in the network that support Colorado's continued transit network integration and at a level that is neutral of provider. So a number of different projects that will inform, not just potential opportunities for Mustang and CDOT, but for our partners across the state. And the key goal is really being to enhance accessibility and connectivity, foster multimodal integration, and promote sustainability. And then just additional background, some of the things we're working on, and how the transit connection study fits in on my side of work. So, there's more of statewide transit planning, but also work we're doing with Mustang. And so the transit connection study is a step higher. So looking at, like I had mentioned, that integrated statewide transit network, and intended to be used by CDOT and our partners to help inform transit decisions. And we're also working on the Mustang business plan, which is a more in-depth review, looking at a financial analysis, market analysis, as well as the development of an asset management plan that will be included. And so these are more of an in-depth view of how Mustang moved forward. And then the objectives for this, so what the TCS is and what it's not. So the TCS provides a vision for a statewide transit network, aims at understanding this network, gaps in the network, and using defined metrics, transit connections, community access, equity, and financial sustainability for prioritization. What it's not, it doesn't offer specific project proposals that are ready for implementation. It doesn't have funding for specific projects, identified for it, and it does not provide a detailed operational analysis of public transit agencies, and nor does it use implementation-ready criteria for prioritization. And so the process that we went through, so collecting inputs from various data sources, so NTD data, census data, modeling data for travel demand, and other sources from existing plans and studies, and really, those inputs coming together to form our gaps analysis, looking at travel demand, community access, transit network connectivity, and unmet and equitable needs. And taking this gaps analysis to develop our project types. So really looking at opportunities to develop new or extended corridors, service optimizations, and reviewing stops and stations. And then, wrapping that up into kind of prioritizing that list. So, and looking at these different gaps, these project types, what opportunities, really looking at prioritizing those in a way to have a list that, through these 4 criteria identified here, kind of creates, some of those first case for connecting the state. And so, this is just like I had mentioned, really what are we trying to answer, and looking at long distance travel and regional travel across Colorado, where there are opportunities to fill gaps in the network and to further connect Colorado's statewide network. And then a key piece here is, one of the big pieces for travel demand was our model data that we had for time of day and time of week. And really looking at trips that were over 20 miles. So, really focused at that longer distance and that corridor level of analysis. And then the project types. So as I mentioned, new or extended corridor or service, breaking that down into regional, interregional fixed route and demand response zones, service optimization, so things like frequency changes, time transfers or schedule changes, and looking at stops and stations, so unlinked transfers. So where are there stops that are serving the same market or in close proximity, but a transfer is difficult because of accessibility and also timing, and new market or activity centers. And then prioritizing these different project types. So, those 4 evaluation criteria I mentioned, and then, providing a deeper level of description here about, what went into the prioritization of those. So for, transit network connections, looking at both geographical and temporal gaps, community access, also looking at geographical and temporal gaps, things like, does it connect to an unserved activity center? Does the project extend span of service or align service schedule to provide additional access? And then equity and financial sustainability as the other metrics for prioritizing these project types. And then at a high level, these are the TCS project overviews. So this map is just really illustrating those regionally and interregionally significant projects, as well as location-based projects. So location-based projects are things like time transfers or core location of transit stations where there's opportunities to better connect those networks at a specific stop or stop location.
Can you go back to the last slide?
Yeah, of course.
What's the difference between the dotted line and the solid line?
That's a great question. The solid lines would be that's a new it'd be a new project, so a new regional interregional route, and the dotted lines would be that there is service on that or running along that route or corridor, but that is potentially a change or addition to that service.
Thank you.
Of course. And then here, just a highlight on this slide, some projects or project types that were identified as significant in this region. So, Pueblo West, Colorado Springs. I think a lot of these are things that we are aware of, and so these pieces are things that came up that help to validate both existing projects and things that we know, and to further inform the work we're doing and our partners are doing in developing these projects or further connecting the state. Colorado Springs to Buena Vista, weekend service along the East US 24 corridor, and then Penrose Canyon City to Colorado Springs along State Highway 115. Maybe, there we go. That's all right. So, and then next steps. So, how this data and the findings from this report help to inform our Bustang service planning and the Bustang business plan. The draft final report is available online for review. Updates to the webpage for sharing data and resources with stakeholders to inform decision-making and collaboration. So taking all the things that we found and putting them on the website or the webpage we currently have for the TCS. So those things are available for download and for review. And then, sharing data and results with stakeholders and partners to build on the work that's been done. We recognize this study is happening concurrently with a lot of great work being done, both for regional and statewide planning efforts. So in the future, how this can help to inform those processes and have, a lot of data available to support those processes into the future. Lessons learned. This is, our first stab at what this has been labeled as the TCS. So into the future, what are ways to improve and evolve the TCS with stakeholder feedback and ideas? And then a piece of this too is data collection and processes and tracking changes to Colorado statewide networks. So identifying metrics, such as vehicle miles or connections of transit systems or new services that help to provide a metric and way to measure opportunities or filling in of gaps that help to create Colorado statewide network. And then, also, as I had mentioned there at the top, but, how this helps to inform and then, kicking off and releasing a draft of our Bustang business plan and what service planning we're doing at CDOT for the future of Bustang. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions and discussion.
Any questions? Okay, I can't let an item go by without a question. So could you send out this presentation?
Yep.
Will you also include the website for where the draft study is?
Yes, I can do that as well.
And is there a deadline for public comments?
I would say for PPACG, a similar one, we'd be looking towards the end of this month.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
John?
So George, you had mentioned how this is the first iteration and, the next time you do it. So not for this one, but the next time, if it's possible, there'd be great use of looking at the connectivity of our veteran population with the military hospitals. So when we did the 2045 long-range plan here in the region, we had quite a few folks that, again, retired military, but don't necessarily have access to vehicles. And if they try to depend on sort of their local transit network and then get them to, the Bustang and everything else, even if everything sort of flows right, it's almost impossible to get an appointment, get the appointment done and get back. So if there could be a focus in the next one of, the red and the blue lines of how do we sort of have collectors where we can pick folks up at certain VA facilities and get them to the right VA facilities. I think we've made progress here in the region while we have more opportunity. There are still some tests that can only be done in the Denver region. So just food for thought there in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think, a couple just pieces on that, some of the areas too we talked about that I would like to see in the future and that we're looking at similar to that is, one being first last mile especially, or, sometimes I jokingly say like first last 10 mile because in rural areas, it's not that first last mile, it's people having to come from greater distances to access transit, Bustang or our regional providers throughout the state, as well as our, demand response and on-demand services that operate big regional services. Yeah, I hear that there. Another one that we've talked about is, where we focused on geographical and temporal gaps this time around, is there an opportunity, to expand this to include more of those institutional or knowledge gaps that exist, wayfinding, understanding how to use Bustang, a schedule to get from, a regional route, to a destination in the city and get back within a day or, within a period of time. I think that's a great comment and definitely something that, we have been thinking about as ways to improve this into the future, especially when talking about something as broadly as transit connectivity.
Thanks.
And just a process consideration for the future. If you could even just send PPACG and the TPRs an email when a draft like this comes out and it doesn't just give us 2 weeks to take a look at it, that would be awesome.
Of course.
Thank you. Anything else on this topic? Very good. Thank you, George.
Thank you.
All right, I think we are up to CDOT updates. Is that John? Or actually, I'll just call on John to start.
Right after I told Jeff I wasn't going to talk. No, I don't really have any, unless Jeff points me later. Put something my way.
I guess that's me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So off the bat, we are coming to TAC this next month with our proposed RPP Regional Priorities Program list of projects. We're hoping to get that approved by all of our planning partners across Region 2 through fiscal year 32 this time. It won't be a yearly thing. And of course, we will update the TAC as changes are proposed throughout the year going forward. Thanks for the coordination already, staff, just going through what our proposals are. And TAC will likely see recommendations from Region 2 staff for RPP funds allocated to the PPACG area, too many acronyms, to align to projects on our recently proposed 10-year plan lists. I'll say that again. You'll likely see proposals for RPP funds to be allocated to projects that are on our recently proposed 10-year plan lists.
So if I hear you correctly, we're not getting any new projects. You're just putting money to the 10-year plan projects.
That's a great assumption.
Okay. Just want to make sure I heard it.
Secondly, we're working with our headquarters TAP program manager, Transportation Alternatives Program. That's a new person in that role, Nasa Birmingham. She previously headed the Revitalizing Main Streets grant program quite successfully. But we all regions, we are working with her to reconcile those statewide funding pools so that we can come back to our planning partners in spring of 2026. Sorry that I do not have a more specific date yet, to open that call for TAP projects. Thirdly, Region 2's transit liaison, Scott Skinner, has been closely working with Mountain Metro staff to coordinate the improvements that we are proposing, whatever those may end up being, at both the Woodman and Monument mobility hubs. Let's see here. And then Kathleen Collins sends her regards. She's missing this for a medical appointment. Sorry, everybody. But today, the Transportation Commission had its monthly meeting, and they adopted the 2050 statewide long-range plan. Our rural transportation planning regions, our TPRs, are anticipated to adopt their respective regional transportation plans and transit plans at their upcoming TPR meetings. In Region 2, our 3 rural TPRs all meet, of course, quarterly, and their upcoming ones are in October. And then key topics covered at the September 4th STAC meeting. Statewide plan adoption action item, of course, because STAC recommends to the TC. There was an informational update on our rural roads program overview. That's hard to say, rural roads. And then there also was an informational update from Gabby and, oh my goodness, Melody Clayton at headquarters, the traffic planner and engineer, on our strategic highway safety plan. Let's see here. Trying to read my scribbles, and I think that concludes my updates unless John Hall has any corrections. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other CDOT staff that have updates or comments for us?
Hey, Victoria, this is Lachelle Davis, CDOT local agency. I just wanted, one thing was, I have a new local agency coordinator that joined my team, and we'll try to get up to the TAC meeting next time so that I can introduce him in person, but his name is Mike Vigil, so he will start seeing his name on some projects. And the second thing I'd just like to throw out there real quick is just a friendly reminder to everybody that does have grant funding, is working with the local agency group to please send reimbursements, reimbursement requests in as monthly is preferred, but that almost never happens. So if we could try to get them, I'm hearing feedback that our coordinators are struggling to get reimbursement requests. And that
Thank
gets us
you.
on the inactive list. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Lachelle. That's a great point and a reminder for us.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that.
I have a follow-up question, if I may, Madam Chair. So Jeff, when you mentioned that the tap for some folks that are new, or for me, because sometimes I don't think, I'm not as smart as I think I am. TAP is divided into two pots, a state pot and an MPO pot. I believe it's 85-15. This committee, through its process, does our TAP funds that come to the region. You're talking with NISA, Birmingham, about the 15% and the state, and at the state, it's broken down into the different regions, right? So will be a Region 2 call for projects, and NISA will be part of that. And that is for anybody within the region, but just know that sometimes if you're part of the MPO, people assume you're going to get money out of that pot, and they're not really too kind with your application. Was
No.
that diplomatic?
That was diplomatic, and I will say, like, for the Central Front Range region, the number is so unbelievably small. I think it was like $380,000 last year. You can barely get one project out of it. So if PPACG member governments, please try not to go after that teeny tiny amount of money for our smaller communities. It would be appreciated.
Yeah, and not that you need me to pile on, but I will, because I have a microphone and it's on. It also, remember, not only is that 300,000 small, but it's federal dollars. So you have to do all of the regulations, all of the stuff. And again, years ago, the rule of thumb was if you federalize a project, it costs you 20% more. I wouldn't be surprised if it's more like 30 or 35%. So yeah, if it's not really worth it unless you're in Central Front Range and that's the only game in town. And that was somewhere in there was a question for you, Jeff, but you can just nod and say, yep.
You're correct. I was referring specifically to that statewide call for projects that everybody is able to at least apply to. Obviously, larger MPOs get that direct allocation from the federal government. Let me remind everybody that that's a 20% local match to the TAP program. Look up Transportation Alternatives Program. I'm happy to provide some more info. And then building on what Lachelle said, I'm going to continue public shaming, right? This year, statewide was a very significant roll forward of unobligated TAP funds. I mean, $30+ million across the state. And so I have to say this carefully, but I would imagine lots of people in the federal government are watching that. So everybody, please do keep that in mind and get your reimbursements in. Thanks.
Good points for everybody. Thank you. Member entity announcements. Anybody have anything to say, chat about, tell us about?
Well, Land's online and so is Jacob, so I'm sure they'll spit in if they have stuff to add. But the Senate Bill 230 oil and gas funds, the applications are due tomorrow for the formula funds, the 70% formula funds. So that should be bringing, I know that there's a few other agencies here in town that are applying for those funds. So those should bring quite a significant amount of money to our region for enhanced transit. So we're excited for that, maybe starting off next year. I know Jacob and Matt kicked off our alternative transportation implementation study yesterday. So we're hoping to be able to maybe combine some of that Senate Bill 230 with the alternative transit plans and really make a robust transit system for our community. That's it.
Thank you, Allison. Anybody else?
This is Jacob Matson with Mountain Metro. Just going to add on one other item. We're moving forward with our fall service change that goes into effect next week, Sunday, September 28th. There's a series of small changes, but there's one larger one with our Route 33, which will begin servicing the Dillon Mobility Hub there at kind of the eastern side of Manitou Ave and Highway 24. So the Route 33 will be extended out there and providing service to that hub. But there's also a series of other changes if you want to, if you're interested, they're on our website. I won't rattle them all off here, but just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Anybody online have a member entity announcement? I'll catch you in a second. Hearing none online, John.
So Allison, I'm just curious, and I probably could just wait 5 minutes and then just come up and ask you, but again, I have a microphone, it's on. So the oil and gas money, right now, do you guys have are we looking at increasing frequencies, better weekend service, or are we expanding the footprint, or you're still sort of doing the plan and you don't know yet? I'm just curious how that money is going to get spent.
We're going to do it all.
Yes.
All of it. No, we do have, I mean, we have a plan. Of course, they have a plan, but our plan could be contingent on whether we receive Lono, which should be released coming up next week, and whether we're going to spend more money on capital to try and get some of the vehicles in place and less on operations to start with. But we do have a plan, and it encompasses all of that. There's going to be frequency, expanded services, micro transit. I mean, we're thinking all of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think the ZEB should have a stop right here at PPACG, so I don't have to. No.
Me too. Let's do it.
It's going to be a tough one, Allison.
It can't be like that, man.
Please, Josh.
Hi, Madam Chair. Sorry I didn't provide this earlier, but I do have a tip update regarding the call for projects. So as I think we looked at last month, the schedule for the new tip you guys approved. We are currently behind on that. We are waiting to open the call for projects until we have a more accurate funding numbers. Staff is working closely with CDOT to obtain these numbers and reconcile any differences. The decision was made to not open the call for projects yet before funding is confirmed, to avoid jurisdictions having to cut projects if the amount of funding that we allocate or predicted is not available. Staff will continue to update the TAC on the schedule for the new tip and on when the call for projects will open. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any do you want to go ahead first? Do we have any estimate of time, maybe of a month, maybe of like which month it might open?
I think we are very confident right now on carbon reduction program funding. We are almost very confident with the TAP funding. We're still working on the STP Metro, which obviously is kind of the biggest concern because of the eligibilities of that funding and because we do anticipate a shortfall. We just want to make sure our understanding of the shortfall aligns with CDOT's understanding of the shortfall so that we can do this the right way once. But I think we're probably 2 weeks, I hope.
Everyone's sharing Jeff.
Just waiting.
Well, in Victoria, my request for a future agenda topic is somewhat related to that. When we do have that call for projects or in advance of being able to lay out the schedule and whatever, I think it would be great for the PPACG staff to do an educational presentation on advanced construction and give us some examples and how that could potentially be used before we start doing an evaluation and selecting projects for STP Metro funding.
John, is that something you guys are able and willing to do?
Yes.
And is that something you would like to do at a TAC meeting or to have a separate workshop for those interested?
Go
ahead, Gail.
Yeah, whatever Gail wants.
Well, I think it would be great to maybe have just an overview of what it is, and then when we have the workshop, once the call's out there, if we can go through some examples so folks understand how we could potentially use that tool.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Gail.
And we'll reach out as staff to CDOT Finance up in Denver and make sure that we are reporting exactly how it could work for us. I tuned into the commission meeting yesterday, and I don't want to say surprised, but I was pleasantly surprised to hear that they have a state infrastructure bank. And I'm not sure how often that gets used and how much is in that, but there are other sorts of funding mechanisms. So I'm going to reach out to CDOT and say, hey, what exactly is available to the local jurisdictions? And is there a size of, you have to be this tall to ride this ride sort of thing? I suspect for advanced construction, it probably will be only Colorado Springs and El Paso County with the size of projects that would qualify. But the infrastructure bank, now that intrigued me yesterday, and I'd like to find out to what level or what extent any of those things are available, because that could also help move some projects forward. Then with the repayment, then get scheduled into the tip. You get to build it now. People get to enjoy it now. You get today's price, and then we pay it down the line. So I'd like to find out more about that. So I'll include that with the advanced construction.
Yeah, that sounds great, John. Thank you. And then Victoria, I do have 2 short announcements when it's time.
Please.
One is, unfortunately, I am not going to be able to attend the meeting in October and November. So I'm going to be asking Todd Frisbee to come and step in my place. And if I was going to be there in October, I'd wait to tell you the second thing is I am going to be joining the board of directors for the Front Range Passenger Rail here. That's in the middle. We're working through all that paperwork and everything right now on that. So more to come on that in the future when I'm able to come back and attend in person.
Great. That's wonderful to have you on there. You're going to be a great representative for our region.
Or fired, well, one of the two.
Well, hope it's not that one. Any other member entity announcements before I jump on to items for future tech agendas?
I have one. Speaking of Front Range Passenger Rail, a member of the district will be presenting at the PPACG board next month, October 8th. So either join the meeting or I will give an update of the presentation fall at the October TAC. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to try and quickly summarize our items for future agendas. So I have tip amendments, the streetlight contract, approval of the complete streets report, Drive Smart Colorado representatives, the call for project, and an educational presentation on advanced construction and the state infrastructure bank. Do we have anything else that I have missed? I'm getting fairly good at this. Okay, well, with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 2:35. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend.